Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Ritu Agrawal and today we will try to explore something more about modals. You remember our last session on modals? Yes, what we did in that session? Let's have a look at it. In our last session, we looked at various examples where we find that the structural difference between sentences was minimum, but they differed a lot in their meaning. This difference was due to words such as can, must, should, need to, may, will, dare not, etc., which are called modals. And we concluded in that session that how modals are to be used to communicate different ideas. So what we are going to do in today's session is, we will be talking about modals definition, its general characteristics, and its usage, that how modals are used and how we have to use them in our day-to-day communication. So what we can see is that how can we define a modal auxiliary? That modals are basically a type of auxiliary. Now the very first thing is, the very first question that comes to our mind is, what do we mean by the word auxiliary? So auxiliary is basically a helping verb, and by helping verb we mean that its meaning is not complete. It needs something else. It needs a main verb. So when an auxiliary combines with the main verb, it gives a complete meaning. For example, in the sentence, I can deposit this book. Now deposit is the main verb and can is a modal, that is a helping verb. So what we want to say by the definition, that modal is a verb which does not have a complete sense on its own. It has to combine with the main verb to give a complete meaning. And it also indicates mood or attitude of the speaker. As we saw in the last session, that the same example, only there was a difference of modal auxiliary and how it depicted the various attitude, what is going into the speaker's mind, we can predict it with the help of those modals. So how can we define modal auxiliary? In other words, we can say that modals are such elements which express modality or notions such as necessity, possibility, permission, uncertainty, compulsion, obligation, capacity, etc. So what are modals? Modals are basically such words which tells us about all these notions. And they are 13 in number, as you can see: can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must, need to, ought to, used to, and dare. So we can see that there are 13 modal auxiliaries, and now we will talk about the characteristics of these modals. That what are the basic characteristics of these modal auxiliaries? So the very first characteristic that we see is that these modals never change their form. By form we mean the structure. That is, we can see in the three examples, I can swim, he can swim, they can swim. So we don't find any change in the structure of can. It remains can only. Means with the first person pronoun or the second person pronoun or the third person pronoun, it does not change its structure. This is the very first characteristic of modals. Otherwise, in other verbs, you see that it changes. For example, I go and he goes. Here the form of the verb go changes. But in the case of modals, their structure, their form remains unchanged. Now let's look at the second characteristic of modals, that we cannot add s, ing or ed in the modals. That is, I cannot say I can swim or I canning swim or I can't swim. It means we cannot add, means their ing and ed forms are not possible with the modals. Let's look at the third characteristic. The modals are always followed by an infinitive without to. Now what do we mean by the word infinitive? Now let's have a look at the example first. I can to fly an aeroplane. Now can is the modal. Now you know it very well. Now what is to fly? Now as I've mentioned that to fly is to infinitive. So basically a to infinitive is to plus verb's first form. So fly. So to fly is a to infinitive. So what is an infinitive? By to infinitive we mean to plus verb's first form. So I can to fly an aeroplane. So this is not a correct sentence. I can fly an aeroplane. Yeah, that is a correct formation. It means we cannot use infinitive without. We cannot use a to infinitive. So the characteristics of the modal is it is always followed by an infinitive without to. So when we use an infinitive without to, it is known as bare infinitive. So in the second sentence, fly is a bare infinitive. Bare means without. So this infinitive is without to. So when we are using a modal, we cannot use to with a verb. We have to use a bare infinitive. However, instead of a modal, if we use any other verb, for example, in the third sentence, I want to fly an aeroplane. Now this is a correct sentence. Why it is correct? Because want is not a modal. It is basically a verb. And when you are using to infinitive with a main verb, yes, it is possible. But it is not possible to use a to infinitive with a modal. So we can see that there are three characteristics, that they don't change their form. We cannot add s, ing, ed. And the third one is they are always followed by a to infinitive. Now let's have a look at the usages of the modals. So we'll be talking about usages of these modals one by one. First of all, let's look at the modal can. Can is used to talk about ability, possibility, and to ask for and give permission. So first notion expressed by can is possibility, which says that situations and events are possible. The examples are smoking can cause cancer. The second example is wars can break out anytime. So in these sentences, what do we find? That there is a possibility that cancer is caused by smoking. Now let's have a look at the second notion expressed by can. It is ability. We can use can to talk about present or general ability, to say that we are capable of doing something. So let us have a look at the examples. I can speak 10 languages. She can cook well. So in these examples we can see that it talks about the present ability. Now can is sometimes used to ask for and give permission, but in informal situations. Now the very first question comes in our mind, can we use can for the permission? Because generally what we have heard, may, that we use may for seeking permission or for giving permission. But no, we can use can also for permission, for giving and seeking permission. But in which cases? Yes, it is only possible in informal cases. Now, what do we mean by the word informal? By informal we mean situations like when we are with friends, family, relatives, etc. So example of seeking permission is, can I use your car, John? So now here someone is asking, seeking permission from John if he can use his car. And how the John is replying? Yes, you can use my car. So here he is giving the permission to the same person. So as we can see that the can as a modal has three notions: possibility, ability, and permission. Now let's look at the modal could. Could is used to indicate past ability. By past ability we mean that somebody was able to do something in the past. For example, I could dance for hours when I was young. So this example talks about ability to dance for hours which existed in past, and that ability is not present now. Second example is, till last year I could read without glasses. So it means Now I am unable to read without glasses. Another notion expressed by could is polite request. So could is often used to make a request or offer that sounds more polite. For example, could I have a glass of water, please? Or could you help me with these bags? So what we find here is could is considered to be a polite form of request. When you want to request somebody in a polite manner, could is the appropriate word. Could is also used to express possibility, the third notion. For example, you could do it if you tried hard. And the second example is, if only I had some working capital, I could start a new business. So what does that mean? In the first example, that you could do it if you tried hard, it means that you would be able to do it if you tried hard. So it indicates the possibility that if you had tried hard, you could have done it. So it is an indication of possibility. So we have seen that the modal can and the modal could, they both indicate different notions. In the can, it was showing ability that was there in the present, that is there in the present time, and could shows ability that existed in the past. And can is used for the permission, but it is not considered to be the polite form. It is a bit rude or informal, whereas could is used for the polite request. And can as well as could, they both show possibility, but yeah, there is a difference in them. With the can, the possibility is more, but with the could, there we can say in percentage the possibility is less if we compare it with the can. So we have seen so far that how each modal has its own modality. So in next session we will be talking about usages of the remaining 11 modals. So till then, take care and goodbye.